Hello and welcome to today's Saratech Enablement Series. My name is Sarah Utsugi and I'm the Marketing Coordinator at Saratech, and I'll be your host today. Presenting today, we have Bud Evans, who's a Senior Manufacturing Engineer at Saratech, and he'll be talking to you about what's new in NX 1953 Manufacturing Part 2. All right. Hi, Bud. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sarah. I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Saratech?
Sure. I'm Bud Evans. I'm a Senior Manufacturing Engineer here at Saratech, and I've been using NX in a manufacturing environment for over 20 years. So I've seen a lot of new releases, and each release brings new features and functionality, so it's important to take a little time to explore what's new, and that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're the expert, and we're excited to share this today. Why don't you go ahead and share your agenda and take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah. So today we've already had a part one, and this is part two of the what's new, because there are so many exciting new features that we want to cover as many of them as we can. So today what we're going to talk about is process patterning. Now you can use the patterning techniques in the manufacturing environment, which you could never do before. And we're also going to touch on the CAM assembly load option. They've made a new option where you can override your assembly load options and force it to fully load the assembly. And we'll show you how to do that. And they've also added in guiding curves, preview cut patterns, where a nice little button where you can quickly see what NX is thinking before you spend a couple minutes generating a toolpath. And they've added a new tool axis display where you can set it and you can see what the tool axis is at the end of each of the tool movements. And I'll show you that too, and it's handy. And they've added two new turning operations, a new rough turn smooth operation, which is for more constant chip load and longer tool life. And they've also added a multi-channel turning option, which is brand new, and people with dual channel machines will be excited about this one. And they've also made a staged model application where you can take your final model and create the manufacturing stages that you want to happen. So you would do that at the beginning, and I'll show you that also. And this is just a reminder, anytime you update NX, if you have programs that you've been running, for months or years that you definitely do not want changed, there's an option inside NX in the customer defaults to lock the toolpaths during version upgrade. Any changes should be better, but if you know for sure that it's good the way you want it and you don't want it changed, you should lock them. And I'm going to touch on just a couple things real quick that we did last week, that some of the ones I think are more better for the user. And this is one of them. The MCS can now be positioned on a partner blank right inside the MCS dialog box. And this picture does a good job of displaying it. You can very quickly put it on the center, or if it's a block, you can put it on the corner. And before, you had to actually go into on the model and click it. And for the cutting tools, right there inside the normal cutting tool dialog box, you can now add the relief diameter. So that's a big improvement too. And trochoidal, in planer mill, the trochoidal cut pattern is gone. So they've replaced it with adaptive milling, and it's the same toolpath that you would see in your adaptive milling roughing operations. So I think everybody is happy about that. So this is the first new one that I'm going to show you, and it's process patterning, where you can use the existing modeling pattern feature and apply it to an operation. And it doesn't actually, you won't see the toolpath, and I'll show you that in a second. You'd only see it in the code, or if you simulate the machine, because it only affects the outputted G code. So if I open a simple part, And in this part, I have two patterns. I have holes and milled slots. So if I go to my part navigator to show you what I've already done, I have two pattern features, and I named them on purpose, and you'll see why in a minute. So there's my drill pattern, and then here's my mill pattern. So when you use these patterns, you apply them to a program group, and it affects everything inside that program group. So I'm going to put a program group inside this program, and I'll call it pattern. And then inside that, I'm going to put both patterns inside this one. So I'm going to insert another program group, and I'm going to call it drill, pattern drill. And I'll make another one and call it pattern mill. And if you open this up, this is out of the box, just like always. This is what you see. It doesn't have the pattern feature until you apply it. So you have to customize. You have to customize the dialog box and add the process patterning. So now I've added it. So now when I double click it and open it up, it's right here. And I'll do it one more time so you can see. You right click it, object, customize, and then add the process patterning. So for the drill, I've got my drill. This drilling operation, you can see, is literally just drilling one hole. And this area mill, planer mill, this is my slot, is literally only doing one slot. So I'm going to drag the slot into the milling and the drill into the drilling. And then if you look at it, it's still just one hole in one slot. But if I turn on my simulation and run the G code, simulate the G code for my pattern operations, it won't affect any of these other operations. It only affects what's inside the pattern program group. So now if I simulate, and you can't simulate the tool path, you have to simulate the machine code. So you want to make sure you have machine code selected. So there's our actual G code that'll run out to the machine. And if I play it, oh, my bad. I didn't do one last thing. I didn't select the pattern. So open them up, and you the drill. I want this. That's why I named them over in the part navigator. So I want to select the drill pattern. And also, if you've done any drilling, you'll be familiar with this reorder area down here. So for holes, you want to pick the hole you want first and move it to the top and reorder the list, and that'll put them in the correct order. So I want to do the same thing for the pattern mill. Select the mill pattern. And this one I believe is correct, but I want to go ahead. You're ahead of the game to go ahead and reorder the list here at the beginning. So now if I simulate the machine, and we're simulating the machine code, and there it is. So now when I play it, it's doing all the slots because they're patterned, and it puts it out in the code. Yeah. So again, when you make an operation group, and then you right click, object, customize, and in here you add that process patterning. So the next thing I want to talk about is the CAM assembly load option. And this is a quick one, but sometimes when you go into your manufacturing, your components aren't fully loaded, and you normally wish they were. So, and I like to touch. Some people don't know their way around these customer defaults, and it's a good idea to not be afraid of the settings in here. So it's right here, manufacturing general, and it's this checkbox, fully load assembly. If you hover over the help, it'll tell you exactly what it does, whether or not the assembly will be fully loaded when you enter, and it overrides your standard assembly load options. But while we're in here, if you didn't know where it was, which normally I don't, I can't find them right away. So I always go right to the binoculars and put in a couple keywords like fully load that I know would be involved with what I'm looking for. And so there it is right there at the top. So if I double click it, it'll take me right there. And the next one is they've added a quick preview inside the guiding curve operations. And some of the other NX operations already have it. So you're probably, if you've been using NX, you're familiar with it. And it's nice. It's nice that they've added it to this box. So now if you go to a guiding curve operation, and there's one right there. I made it a simple one, but you can tell that's really not a very good toolpath. You wouldn't want the changing of direction. So inside your guiding curve dialog, they've added this flashlight. And so I can click that preview, and I can tell right here, it's not a very good toolpath. And sometimes when you generate it, if you have especially a large part, it may take you a few minutes for it to generate. But with this, I can just delete the guide I have and pick another one, and then take a peek at that and say, oh, I really don't like that one either. And then I'll pick another one. And that looks like the direction I would want to go. So now I can say, okay, and generate. And so that's a much better toolpath. And they've also added display tool access at endpoints. And it took me a minute. I used my command finder to find it, but it took a minute for me to find this little button. But it shows the tool access at the endpoints of each move. So in this part here, and it's right here under display, under the more tab. So display, more, tool access at endpoint. So when I turn that on, any operation I pick, it shows me what the tool axis is. So there's the contour profile. So it's a real quick check, just a good feeling that you have things correct when you can bounce through and look at it. And it stays on until you turn it off. And for the turning, they've added a new rough turn smooth operation. And you can tell by the curves, the yellow engage and the white retracts. It smooths everything out for a more constant force and constant chip load for better tool life. So inside NX, if I open a turning part, and on this part, I've already rough faced and finish faced the front. So I'm going to add, first I'll add the out of what we're used to, the old standard rough operation. So I'm in turning, and right here is rough turn OD. That's what everybody's used to. And I'll put in a tool, geometry, roughing method. So everything's just straight and straight as can be, but it works. But they've improved it now. So if you take a look at this, everything's straight, not smooth. I'll leave that there, and then above it, I'll put a, it says right here, the second to last one, it's a rough turn smooth. And same tool, same settings. So in this one, if I generate it, and it's all zigzag, I want zig. There we go. But you can see you've got curved entries for a smoother entry and a smoother exit. But you'll notice it actually leaves a little more stockier than we want, and that's going to be controllable right here with your minimum inside radius or your inside radius. So if I make the minimum 0 and put maybe an 1/8 inch maximum radius or inside radius, you'll see that I can control how much I'm going to leave in those corners. But I think everybody's going to like this one. I think it's nice and exactly what the name says. It's smooth. So the next turning operation is the multi-channel turning, and they've added this for people with dual channel machines, so you can use the two tools at the same time. So if I open, and on this one, you literally have to have a 2-channel machine loaded. I have out of the box 2-channel horizontal, but you have to have one loaded or the operation doesn't show up. Like in the one we just had in, it was not there. So to use 2 tools, you would have one in turret 1 and one in turret 2. So I named these T1 and T2, not for tool 2, but for turret 2, so that I could keep track of what turret the tool was in. So in here we have a rough facing, finish facing, rough turn smooth like we just did, and a finish turn OD. Well, I'm going to get rid of that rough turn smooth, and in its place I'm going to put the new, and see this just now showed up because the 2-channel machine. So in here I'm going to put rough turn multi-channel, and I'm going to use T1. And the first thing I'm going to do is go right to the multi-channel area, and I'm going to tell it what the second tool is, and I'm going to use T2 for the one in turret 2. And I know because of the way this package is set up, I need to reorient the holder 90 degrees, and you can tell from the picture. So I think I'm going to put a 90 in, and then generate. And then this warning is because the other, over here on the left, you'll see it made the second operation, the multi-channel one. Well, I got to flip the holder on that one also. So I'll say OK to this, and then open up the multi-channel one. And now we're good. And so that takes care of the two operations that quickly. Just with one operation, you made 2. And from this point forward, you'd use your sync manager, just like always, sync manager, to tie these 2 together so they actually cut at the same time. But the way we did it, you have to have a 2-axis or 2-channel machine loaded, or it doesn't even show up in your create operation. And from there, you saw it's just like any other turning operations with your settings and everything. But it works pretty good just right off the get-go. And they've also added a staged model application. And what this does is it's for creating the different 2 or 3 stages you may have when making a part. And you can use those stage models for manufacturing and also for inspection to put out of your CMM. So I'll open up a stage model part. So this is just that model we've been playing around with no manufacturing or anything to it. This is just a model, and we're in modeling. So if I want to make stages for this part, it's actually an application. So you click application, and it's under the manufacturing area, and you click the more, and it's right down on the bottom, staged model, and this will enter the staged model application. And there's not a lot of icons up there, which is kind of nice. But literally, all you're going to do is use a couple synchronous modeling techniques to remove features to create your new stage models. So if I want to make a new stage model set, and I'll show you what it does in Windows here too. See, this is the folder I'm working out of. So when I tell it to make a new stage model set, I'll just call them manufacturing stages. And I want two. I want my finished part, and I want 2 stages. So I'll have 3 total, including my original. So when I say OK and tell it to make it, it made this new folder, and that name I just typed in is what the name of this folder is. And then in here, it made the 2 files, and those 2 files is what we're going to create. Right? They're created, but we're going to make them the way we want them. So maybe there we go. So now I've got and here's in my tree, I've got stage 1 and stage 2. So for each stage, I'm going to link that body to that stage. So I'm going to link this part to make sure it says body. So now I've got that part. And then on this part, I'm going to make it the first stage. I'm going to get rid of all the make sure it's set to slots. I'm going to delete all the slots and holes. So now I've got stage 1, that quick. And then for stage 2, we'll link this body also. And on this one, I'll just say the last thing we're going to put in is those slots. So that's the only thing I want to take out of this one. So I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete the slots. And then that will be my second stage. So now I can change my layout and do a 3-tab group. So on the top right, I've got my finished part. At the bottom is stage 1, and the left is stage 2. So that's handy, and then you can save those parts off. You can do whatever you want with them. But it's for the planning stage, but it's a handy feature, and it's real quick and organized. And again, it's actually an application. So we were in modeling, and you click application, manufacturing tab, and then stage model. And that's the end, all I'm going to cover today. So what we've covered is the process patterning, where you can use modeling techniques to pattern your operations. You can now have a button for always loading and assembly in fully load for a CAM when you enter manufacturing. And they added a nice little button for guiding curves to preview the cut path or the cut pattern. And you can now see your tool axis just with a click of a button of any operation to get a quick peek at mainly to see if you did something wrong. And there's two new turning operations: rough turn smooth for longer tool life, and multi-channel, so you can more quickly program your dual channel machines. And then the one we just covered, which is for the planning stage before you start even manufacturing, for the planning to make your models for different stages of manufacturing.
Great. Thanks so much, Bud. At this point, if you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the questions panel. But actually, we do have a few questions right now. The first one is, if the pattern changes, will the resulting CNC code also change correctly?
Yes, yeah, it'll change correctly, but you'll have to repost it. Yeah, but it's fully associative. So, but you do have to repost the code.
The next question is, in rough turn smooth, can we still change our engage and retract settings?
Yes, in rough turn smooth, you still have full control. You can actually turn a rough turn smooth into a normal rough operation if you want to. But you still have all your controls in there for engage and retract and non-cutting moves.
And then final question is, can you change the file names of the staged models?
I don't believe so. Well, that's kind of why I showed you how it created these names. And you can tell from the name itself, it's generated off like my name. So I don't think you can change these, but you can open this and do a save as and save it as, whatever you want, stage 1, stage 2. But no, I don't believe you can change this name.
Great. It looks like that's all the questions we have for today. So if you are ready to take it to the next level, Saratech offers much more than software. We have a wide variety of options for training, services, and 3D printers. So if you have any questions about that, you can email us at marketing@saratech.com. This will be hosted on our YouTube channel, so please feel free to pass along to your colleagues. Again, you can also find part 1 there. Thank you, Bud, and thank you everyone for attending. Have a great day.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on any new videos. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest engineering news and information. And to see all of our upcoming events, please visit our website at saratech.com/events.